Speaker, given the revelations about Royal Lodge, does the Prime Minister agree that this House needs to properly scrutinise the Crown Estate to ensure taxpayers' interests are protected? The Chancellor herself has said that the current arrangements are wrong. So will the Prime Minister support a select committee inquiry so all those involved can be called for evidence, including the current occupant?
Prime Minister.
Well, it's important in relation to all properties, Crown properties, that there is proper scrutiny.
The week in Westminster ignited with fierce exchanges over the Royal Lodge revelations, exposing deep fractures over transparency and privilege. Opposition MPs pressed the Prime Minister to support a select committee inquiry into how the Crown Estate manages taxpayer-funded properties, especially the Royal Lodge, where questions about public value and oversight refused to fade. The PM cautiously endorsed proper scrutiny, yet critics accused him of sidestepping decisive action. The chamber buzzed with accusations of favouritism, secretive deals, and a government reluctant to confront the monarchy's entanglement with public money. Commentators called it a test of moral authority. Will Parliament prove it can hold even royal-linked finances to account? The issue has struck a nerve with voters frustrated by economic struggles and rising inequality, making this the most politically charged property debate of the year, and a trigger for the chaos that followed.
Will be told that by leaving this completely outdated 75-year-old convention, and by the way, I fully understand why, in the 1940s, this was signed up to, because the other European countries did not have constitutions, did not have democracies that could pretend them that could prevent them going into extremism. But it's now completely outdated. We are not Russia. We are not Belarus. Indeed, countries like New Zealand, Australia, Canada. Nobody in this room would say they're barbaric or backward countries. They defend freedoms, but I don't defend state-given human rights, because they can be taken away by the very state that has been given to them in the first place. I've never seen so many Liberal Democrats in all my life as I was in mine.
Continue.
I would ask the Liberal Democrats and others in this place, what is wrong with you? Do you not believe? Do you not believe?
We've got a list for you.
You've only got 10 minutes.
Do you not believe this country is good enough to make its own laws? Do you not believe that the country that since Magna Carta has developed the principle of common law, and with its faults, perhaps been the best ever developed by civilization? Do you not believe we're good enough to make these rules, or we stick with outdated conventions preyed on by human rights lawyers in this country?
Madam Deputy Speaker, to say that, let me just quote again what the member for Runcorn and Helsby said. It drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people and full of Asian people. It doesn't reflect society. Madam Deputy Speaker, that is a racist comment. And it is against the Nolan principles. And how can we ensure that members of Parliament abide by the Nolan principles?
It's not the comment that the honourable member is referring to. It's the fact that that she called the member a racist that is the issue. If you can please reflect on your remarks of calling a member of this House a racist and stick to the comments being a racist. It may be that she considers that that is dancing on the pin of her head, but it's important that we all act with respect and set an example to the country.
Giving me déjà vu. I appreciate that in this House that we are not supposed to be disrespectful and call members of Parliament, MPs, what they actually are. Ultimately, the comment is a racist comment. it's quite strange that I'm unable to call out the member for being a racist, having made a racist comment.
Momentum from the Royal Lodge row spilled directly into a historic debate on Britain's outdated conventions, a 75-year-old framework now branded unfit for a modern democracy. MPs thundered that post-war arrangements designed to protect nations from extremism no longer reflect 21st century Britain. "We are not Russia, we are not Belarus," one fiery speaker declared, insisting the UK must reclaim full legislative control and shed state-given rights that can be taken away.
Please, it's time and time again, can you please consider withdrawing the comment about a member of this House being a racist?
I don't want to be thrown out of Parliament again. So I will withdraw the fact that I am referring to the Member of Parliament as a racist because of her racist comments.
Why is it limiting itself to this particular security farce and not the other glaring errors, like the doubling of drone sightings above prisons, the soaring assault on prison officers, or the rampant extremism we're now seeing in our jails? Shocking as this accidental release is, it is not a one-off blunder. It has come to be the norm under this government, as the number of prisoners mistakenly let out early has more than doubled. So can the Justice Secretary tell the House how many of the 262 prisoners let out mistakenly in the year to March were violent or sexual offenders, and how many are still at large? There are now record numbers of foreign nationals clogging up our prisons, more than under the last government. How many of those 262 prisoners accidentally released are migrants, like Kebatu, who were awaiting deportation? Madam Deputy Speaker, can the Justice Secretary give the House his cast iron assurance that this man will be deported from our country by the end of the week, as he promised on the news on Sunday? And if he fails, will he take responsibility and resign?
They said that they were the government of security and safety. They oversaw rising violent crime and crumbling courts and crumbling prisons. Again and again, they promised 20,000 extra prison places, and they managed an extra 500 in 14 years. They promised to remove more foreign national offenders from prisons. They failed. They promised investment and expansion in the prison system, but budgets stalled. They promised investment in the police, but again, we saw the police cut by 20,000. They promised increases in access to justice. We did not see that. We saw almost the collapse of legal aid. Violence went up in our prisons. Self-harm went up in our prisons. Drug abuse went up in our prisons. And prison officer numbers were cut under his watch. And he comes here and has the brass neck to give the impression that this started just 14 months ago. Let me just pause there. William Fernandez was released in error in March 2021. He was a sexual predator. He raped a 16-year-old and sexually assaulted another young woman after he was let out by prison in 2021. Was there an independent investigation? No, not from their side. Rayan Nubi, released in error in March 2023. Again, a man who was mistaken released from a Category B prison. Was there an independent investigation under his watch? No, there wasn't. Laura Matavoulis, again released in error in December 2021. Was there any
rights that can be taken away? The chamber divided sharply. Reformists argued the country's proud common law tradition, rooted in Magna Carta, proves Britain can govern itself without foreign constraints. Critics warned that tearing up conventions without solid replacements invites chaos and international mistrust. Yet the tone was unmistakable. Westminster is hungry for reinvention. As passions rose, one question echoed across the benches. Can the UK modernize without fracturing its moral foundation? That debate would soon explode into something far more personal. The fiery debate over Britain's identity erupted into open confrontation when Labour MP Dawn Butler called out a racist remark made by Reform MP Lee Anderson, who had complained that adverts full of black and Asian people didn't reflect society. The chamber fell silent before exploding in uproar. Madam Deputy Speaker quickly intervened, ordering Butler to withdraw the word racist, reminding members that parliamentary rules forbid direct accusations against colleagues. Butler stood her ground, saying, "The comment is racist, even if I can't call the member a racist." The exchange electrified social media, with millions sharing the clip under the tag #ThisIsRacist. Commentators praised Butler's composure while condemning the parliamentary protocol that seemed to protect prejudice. This moment marked a turning point in the week. Westminster wasn't just debating laws anymore, it was confronting the moral soul of the institution itself. As the racism clash reverberated across the country, deep political cracks widened. Reform UK's leadership, scrambling to control damage, framed the uproar as free speech under fire, while Labour MPs rallied behind Butler, demanding stronger anti-racism standards inside Parliament. Liberal Democrats and SNP members seized the moment to spotlight hypocrisy, how parties champion equality on camera but stay silent when bias surfaces in the Commons. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak faced calls to publicly denounce the remark, yet his muted response only fueled anger from activists and editorial pages. Online, the debate spiraled into millions of views, reshaping the week's narrative from policy to prejudice. Analysts warned the row could redefine alliances, especially as Reform UK sought to brand itself as anti-establishment while risking long-term reputational harm. What began as one offensive comment had become a full-scale political identity crisis for Westminster. Just as Westminster tried to cool tensions from the racism scandal, another shockwave hit, the eviction of MP Andrew from the Royal Lodge residence. The news broke live, setting off a media frenzy. Footage of removal vans outside the estate flooded screens as reporters questioned whether the eviction was purely administrative or a calculated political maneuver. Allies claimed Andrew's removal was part of routine accountability, but insiders whispered it was retaliation for months of behind-the-scenes resistance to party leadership. Public reaction was swift. Some saw justice served after years of privilege, others decried a humiliating spectacle. Social feeds lit up with hashtags like #RoyalLodgeTruth and #AccountabilityNow, echoing frustration over elite protection. The timing, coming amid debates on reform, racism, and justice, turned Andrew's personal downfall into a symbol of Britain's widening distrust in its ruling class. And Westminster, once again, was the epicenter of chaos. Barely had the dust settled from Andrew's eviction when Westminster plunged into a new controversy, the Kebatu deportation case. Opposition MPs demanded answers after revelations that hundreds of prisoners, including foreign nationals, had been mistakenly released under government watch. At the center stood Kebatu, a migrant offender whose deportation became a litmus test for political integrity. The Justice Secretary, Alex Chalk, vowed deportation by week's end, but critics called it a headline promise masking years of systemic failure. Labour's front bench accused the government of using Kebatu's case to distract from crumbling prisons and staffing cuts. Footage of impassioned Commons debates, echoing with words like accountability and resign, dominated broadcasts. In the aftermath of days that felt like political earthquakes, Westminster itself became the subject of public judgment. Parliamentary inquiries were announced, not just into the Kebatu deportation, but into how the racism row and Andrew's eviction had been handled. Select committees grilled senior ministers on live TV, demanding timelines, truth, and transparency. Home Secretary James cleverly struggled to defend the deportation policy amid accusations of scapegoating, while Speaker Lindsay Hoyle faced criticism for losing control of Commons decorum. For once, every party, Tory, Labour, Reform, and Lib Dem alike, appeared fractured and defensive. Protesters gathered outside Parliament, chanting, "Clean House," as journalists broadcast the chaos to the world. The symbol of British democracy had turned into a theatre of contradictions, speeches about equality echoed in halls still shadowed by privilege. The question lingered, had Westminster finally been forced to confront its own hypocrisy, or was this just another week of scandal destined to fade into the next? As the dust settled, the nation stood divided yet awakened. Polls revealed a deep erosion of trust, 62% of Britons said they no longer believed Parliament represented them. In pubs, on podcasts, and across social media, citizens debated whether reform was even possible within such an entrenched system. Meanwhile, emerging leaders from both left and right positioned themselves as voices of real change, hinting at new movements rising from Westminster's wreckage. Internationally, headlines questioned Britain's moral compass, with European commentators dubbing the week a mirror moment for British democracy. Yet amid the cynicism, a new civic energy stirred, people registering to vote, demanding transparency, and calling out corruption online. The scandals had exposed the cracks, but they had also awakened participation. Westminster may have stumbled, but the public was watching closer than ever.